Good morning, my brothers and sisters. On this, the next episode of the PlayStation Plus Premium Show, or PSPP, or Triple PS, or P Cubed, whatever you want to call it, we're not sure yet. It is just one of many parts of the Good Morning Guys podcast universe, and we thank you so much for joining us on this fine morning, afternoon, evening, or night as we discuss the glorious amount of games found within the PlayStation Plus catalog, along, of course, with our game focus today, Returnal. I am your host today, the Brazilian trophy huntineer and transition Sony pony, Lucas Ham Swisher. Also with me, the judge, the jury, the executioner of every single game offered through streaming services around the globe, Patrick Novosel.
So I have a question then. So with PlayStation, it's one word, but S is capitalized. So shouldn't this be the PSP squared, not the P cubed? Because
so you're offering yet another option for what we call this show.
We need to figure out our acronyms.
PSP squared. PSP. But see, it sounds like the PSP is squared, not the P, just the P. It'd have to be the PS plus PSP plus squared. Wait, PS plus P squared would be the correct mathematical
it's the PlayStation
formula.
PP show.
Yeah, PlayStation PP. I like that. Thanks for joining us on PSPP. Let's get into it. All right. Welcome, one and all. We are dropping some new segments or a new segment for this show. If you've been with us all along and you joined us on Twix GP last week, you already know about this segment, but it's also going to be in our PSPP show. So just in case you're confused, that's our Xbox show and our PlayStation
I'm not
show.
sure if I'm on board with the PSPP.
Already said it too many times. Fair enough. So we are discussing the best PlayStation exclusives that money can buy, and maybe eventually that you can get for free by earning points and such, as Patrick does with Xbox Game Pass.
Hey, when they drop that, I guess competitor to the Microsoft points on the PlayStation platform, I'm going to be using those.
Oh, you know it. I know that you know that I know. If that makes sense.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think you do too.
Yeah.
All right. So before we jump into the nitty gritty, before we talk about Returnal, before we talk about some of our picks in our 20 for 20, as some of you may not know, I want to talk about what's dropping in August. We got some games dropping. We got some good ones. We got some bad ones. We got some, I have no idea if they're good or bad ones. So first of all, for the month, you got the PS Plus games. You got Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 remastered. You got Yakuza Like a Dragon and Little Nightmares as well. Those three games. How do you feel about that selection?
I think it's a pretty solid list. With
I
Tony Hawk, I mean, if they only dropped Tony Hawk, it still would be a solid list.
Still a win. Yeah, for sure. There's also recent additions to the full catalog of games you can play if you're in the PS Plus Extra or PS Plus Premium. I'm not going to distinguish between one or the other. You're just going to have to find out when you get on there and you're like, oh no, I don't get this game because I'm not premium. It's part of the surprise. But the games that are being dropped, Yakuza 0, Yakuza Kiwami 2, obviously because of Yakuza Like a Dragon. Then Dead by Daylight, Ghost Recon Wildlands, just like Xbox, Bugsnax, Metro Exodus, Trials of Mana, Uno, Monopoly Madness, and Monopoly Plus. What do you think of them apples, Patrick?
I have I'm of two minds.
Mixed bag, right?
Yeah. One is I've already played most of these games.
Yeah.
Bugsnax being on there was a PlayStation 5 launch title, and I don't know if it was only for a period of time for like the initial launch, because there was a huge constraint issues with getting PS5s in people's hands. Having that Bugsnax on there, I'm glad to see that on there, because that game was fun. It was a good family game. It was difficult at times. I had to use a guide on some of those to get those trophies, but that's a good one. The Monopoly ones that are on there, like those are, if you're going to play Monopoly, that's the way to go. I'm not a big Monopoly fan, but if you're going to play Monopoly, those are some pretty solid games.
It really is. Easy cleanup, easy setup to begin, then easy cleanup, and it's entertaining because you got moving pictures and the anthropomorphic pieces like the dog and the hat and all that stuff is cool. Yeah, I haven't played those versions of Monopoly. I have a version of Monopoly that's like a Hasbro Family Fun Pack that comes with like 4 or 5 games. I don't know how different it is, but I'd be down to try it with the family just to see, what it's like, get some trophies. I'm sure it's got some interesting variations on the classic games.
Yeah. And the other one, Uno, like just buy an Uno card game. Like that's the wrong way to play the game.
It really is. Some games don't translate to video games. It's like, what are we doing here? We got these digital cards, and when we could just be holding them.
If you don't have an Uno deck, Uno is a great game. I love Uno.
Yeah.
But if you don't have a Uno deck, which I think everybody has an Uno deck, isn't that like the rite of passage? Once you live in a house, you have to have an Uno deck.
I'm pretty sure it's easily one of the most like adaptive decks of cards you can have. Because see, you think about it, you go missing like a few of the cards of the Uno deck, you can still play Uno.
Yeah.
You get a normal deck with king, queen, jack, all that stuff, and you're missing some cards. All the games break down. Like you can't. Right. There's so many games you can't play other than like, well, even Go Fish. It's like Go Fish. Nope, I don't have it. And then you never find it. And you're like, what is happening? You have it in your pocket.
I know. So, in Uno, they give you like 300 cards. So
exactly.
If you lose a few, trying to like shuffle an Uno deck.
Oh my gosh. Two Uno decks, and it's like flying everywhere. It's just like raining Uno cards. I mean, the only person who's going to notice there's missing colors is like Rain Man. And he's like, after I got my underwear at Kmart, this is missing 2 blues. 2 blues are missing.
Yeah, the best part of Uno.
Anybody get that reference? Anyone? Rain Man? Too old? Too young? Probably not.
The best part of Uno is the blank card, and you write in your own rule. Oh man,
I've never
12.
actually done that. I've never actually done that before. That's hilarious. I need to do that with our deck of cards, surprise our kids, and be like, boom, plus 12. Try to stack that one, sucker.
Plus 12, plus draw 4, plus I get to pick any card for the rest of the game.
And I win.
I win.
All right. Speaking of winning, we want to get to the winners and the losers of some of the games in the catalog that we get with PS Plus, normal, extra, and premium. Every month or so, we like to do what's called the 20 for 20, where we try to play 20 games for at least 20 minutes, and then I ask, and then you tell me if you're all in, if you're putting it in the backlog, or you've abandoned it totally. And so we're just going to bring games that we've done that with. And Patrick, why don't you share with us some of your games that you've experienced?
Okay, so the all-in game, the game that I'm all in on is Death Stranding.
Ooh.
This is a Hideo Kojima game, and it is straight up Hideo Kojima. It's a hard story to follow, but once you get into the game, like I gameflied this before it came on to the PlayStation Plus Extra package. And because I wanted to test it out. I was like, you know what? This is one of the popular games. It's got some good reviews. It's a Hideo Kojima. Why not try it out? So I played for like 20 minutes, maybe closer to an hour. And I was really sucked in to the mechanics, to the crazy nonsensical type of story, and the elements that are of the story that's happening. I wanted to unpeel that onion to figure out what's happening. So this is definitely a game that I am all in on.
Nice. How about I'm just gonna have you actually do all 3.
Okay.
We're gonna mix it up.
Yeah, I can do it all 3.
What are you adding to the backlog?
Wreckfest. Wreckfest.
Ooh, I thought you were gonna say breakfast. I'm like, all right. Why would you do that? Let's do breakfast now.
I'm all in on breakfast.
Yeah, Wreckfest, huh?
Bacon. Wreckfest. It's like a destruction derby kind of game. Very fun co-op multiplayer game where you're just like you pick a car and you try to destroy other cars, and it is an absolute blast. So that's I'm adding that to my backlog, and then the last one is the game that I'm abandoning.
What have you abandoned, my friend?
Man Eater, that shark game where you are a shark.
She's a man eater.
You know what? I gave it a good 2 hours, and I was like, "Wow,
Wow,
this is it." Like I'm just a shark, just trying to find other things to eat and people to eat, and
the
other sharks with like lasers on their head. I'm like, this doesn't seem like a game that I would like. So, and
Really, even with lasers, on their
controls
head.
were difficult, and
Oh,
like
yeah.
it felt like a flying game, and flying games give me like
Right.
motion sickness anyways, and this was even worse because you're like underwater, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I could, when you're in water, you can't. There's not a lot of like visibility because you're in like a lake, and you can't
to make it
see very far.
realistic, you have to make it murky, and it's like, who wants that?
I had no idea where I was going, and I was like, you know what? There's other games I'd rather play, so this one is gone.
Ooh, all right. R.I.P. Maneater.
Lucas,
R.I.P.
what about you?
All right, so I gave the 3 PS Plus games for August ago at least 20 minutes. Some of them I played a little more than 20 minutes. So I want to know, what do you think is the game I abandoned? We're going to play a guessing game. So what game do you think I abandoned of the 3 games I mentioned for?
I'm going to say Metro Exodus.
Sorry, to be more specific, the 3 games that were dropped for PS Plus monthly, not the catalog games.
Little Nightmares.
That is incorrect.
No way, really?
Yeah, so I abandoned Yakuza Like a Dragon.
Oh, okay. All right.
So,
That's fair.
I know that you're not a fan. I don't think you've talked about it on any of our shows, but I had not played it. And it's like a Japanese GTA. It's very much like you got gangs going, you're running around the city, you're doing these little, hustles and all these kind of things for your Japanese mafia family. And it is, except unlike GTA, it is like goofy, an 11 out of 10 in the goofy scale. And it just didn't jive with me. And like the talking back and forth, the voice acting's fine, but the animation for the voice acting is very stoic. It's like, I can't believe you're going to do that. And then like, it looks like just their mouths moving and nothing else. So it feels really, I don't want to say, Shenmue-ish, if that makes any sense. Like just very...
Shenmue? What's brewing, bro?
Yeah, it's just not... And it just was, it was inappropriate enough where I was just like, I don't know that I really want to, just talk about this. It's one that I wouldn't stream just because for me, I want it to be family friendly. And if my kids heard some of the things they say, even within the first 20 minutes, I'm like, oh my, okay, this is after hours.
There should be an option where, like there's like blood options, turn off blood and all that stuff. There should be a profanity option. I think that
I agree.
That's a good accessibility thing.
Because here's the thing.
Yeah.
This is why I have an issue with language. You play a violent video game, my kid can't really replicate that. Like he can't just get out a sword and just go and like cut the dog in half. That I know of. That he doesn't have a Jedi sword. He doesn't have like this Excalibur. He doesn't have a huge like, Blades of Olympus or whatever, the Ghosts of Sparta, the Blades of Chaos, I think they're called. He doesn't have any of that. So when he sees, and I still try to keep him away from some violence. But with language, I mean, he can replicate that like 1 millisecond.
I didn't
say a word, and he's like,
for you audio listeners out there, he just snapped.
Oh,
like that.
Yeah,
I heard
like
that one.
There you go. Sorry. It was competing sounds. Like I snapped and I talked at the same time and Zoom got confused. But anyways, so I'm abandoning Yakuza for its content, and it's slightly a little too, it's not my kind of goofy. So
yeah.
As for the backlog, I am adding, since you mentioned it, Little Nightmares to the backlog. Yeah. I was very surprised. I initially, I've poo-pooed this game in the past because people have said it's a horror puzzler game, and I'm like, nope, no horror for me, my friends. I stay
just side scroller, like Inside.
Exactly, and that's what I didn't realize. I hadn't looked into it enough, and it's like Inside. It's like Limbo. I haven't played Inside yet. I plan to, but I played Limbo, and while it creeped me out, I enjoyed the creepiness. Like it's a very much it's a creepiness where I don't feel like there's someone breathing behind me, like down my neck and like touching me in weird ways and that kind of stuff. I don't know why I went that direction, but just like, hello, Lucas, like salad fingers.
Puts
like
the lotion.
Puts on the lotion. Yeah. This game doesn't give me that. It's you're like a little kid in a raincoat and you're just trying to escape little worms and big, huge, ugly people. And
I played this game. I beat it. I played this game and I beat it. And it was, I mean, it's not like a great game, but did I
it's
enjoy
like a little
myself
indie game
all the way through? Yes. Yeah, I did.
It's going in the backlog. I intend to play through it. And
cool.
So, and then the last one, I'm all in on Tony Hawk Pro Skater. This is a game that I missed, if you believe it or not. This is one of our top 100 games that I have never played. I played Cool
really?
Borders. I played Cool Borders. I played ESPN Extreme. Like, I played random games, but for whatever reason, Tony Hawk never got my attention.
Wow.
And so I was like, I'm going to pay for, all I did was pay the tutorial. And I was like, oh, this is like 3D Ollie Ollie. And I love Ollie Ollie. I don't know if you've played that little indie gem. What a game. Well, Tony Hawk is the original, and it's 3D and it controls really well. So
I wonder without that nostalgia factor in there with you, how much you would enjoy this game. Because those of us that have played the first 3 Tony Hawk games,
right,
which were just like mind-boggling awesome.
Yeah.
To not have that nostalgia factor, I wonder how long it'll keep your interest.
I think it'll do all right, because I might not have nostalgia for Tony Hawk. I have, like I said, nostalgia for Cool Borders, for those games where you still have to hold down X and let it go at the peak of the jump, and then press the buttons to do the flippies and the whoosy whatsits, and it feels enough like Ollie Ollie that's a more modern game that I've played that I really grabbed onto and enjoyed until it got freakishly hard. And I was like, I can't do anything more with this. It's just too hard. So we'll see how long I last. I'm playing it on the PS4 with the hopes that if I get the platinum, I can just pop the platinum on the PS5. So I like it enough to do that. So that's saying something.
All right.
Now, another game I'm all in on, that's our topic, is Returnal. So I hope you're ready to jump into that. I don't remember if we have transition music, so I don't know that I really need to wait for anything. We just go right into it. So that was our 20 for 20. We do have transition music?
No, we just go right into it.
Yeah, we do. So Returnal. Returnal is something else. We're going to do, of course, our spoiler-free, quick little elevator pitch of what we thought about it with a rating. And then, as best as we can, we're going to go into gameplay and story spoilers. Okay? Sound good? Okay. So if you have not played through at least most of the biomes, is at least 5, or I would say if you've not finished,
done at least 3. If you've done at least 3,
okay. If you've done at least 3, you can listen through all of it. But play something. But for now, you can listen to our spoiler-free thoughts. So Patrick, go ahead and lay it on me. What are your thoughts on Returnal?
Sure. I'm going to start with a story that makes no sense, and so there's really no spoilers on there for you. So I even read like the story after I beat the game. I read the story and I was like, none of this makes sense, and I don't believe, I don't believe the way this person interpreted it or anybody else interpreted it, because it feels like that's up to interpretation. So the story in this game meant nothing to me. I'm a story-driven kind of guy, but my goodness, the gameplay of this game is king. And that's what kept me playing this game. All the different weapons you get and the power-ups you get, the artifacts, and you can just add different things. And the more enemies you kill, the better your gun starts to become. Like, it's the way you level it up there was amazing. The difference in biomes, from all biomes, they're varied, like in enemies and landscape. So that was really, really good to see. Every time you get to a new biome, everything felt fresh. And so even though you're having like some of the guns, but as you level up your gun, they get better and better. So it was really cool to see that that progression throughout the biomes. The sound was oh my gosh, like just the little sounds of your ultimate or your alt fire when it cools down and it comes back and you can use it again, that little ding, the enemies and the way they sound, the way your gun sounds as you shoot it, I mean, like very different, and they're very varied in that sense.
Real quick, I just want to interject while you're saying this. One, I also want to call it the ultimate, even though it is alt fire. It's the alternate fire, but I always want to say because it's the most powerful thing you can do usually. So, and then the other thing is, probably 2/3 of the way through my 30 hours with it, I turned up the background noise, like the forest sounds, and oh my goodness, if you close your eyes, you feel like you're in a really gross very natural forest. Like
Now, did you wear
it is
headphones
cool.
while you were playing?
I wore the Pulse 3Ds, baby.
Okay.
It sounds so good. Okay,
Yes.
but continue.
Yeah. So that was cool. And then lastly, the controls. The controls they felt so natural.
Yeah.
After, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes to a half hour, they just felt so natural. The one thing that didn't feel natural was the alt fire. And ADS were the same button. So so I didn't like that. So I changed the alt fire to go to R1. So my gun was R2 and my alt fire was R1. And then ADS
smart.
was L2. So because the way ADS and your alt fire work is you to ADS, you just had to go halfway on L2. And then to do your alt fire, you have to press it all the way. And I kept doing alt fire accidentally. When I played. So, I played maybe like that for maybe an hour, and I was like, oh man, I don't like this. I don't like the ad that I'm accidentally doing this. And it felt weird to only go halfway on L2. So I switched that over to R1 and that felt very, very, natural as far as that. And
that's
I don't know,
call.
did you change your control settings when you played?
No, but now I want to. So, because I never aim down sights. Like, I never do ADS. I just run around like a chicken with a head cut off and just shooting, spraying bullets everywhere. Like,
gosh, yeah. And once you get to the highest proficiency level and your bullets are going everywhere, it's not necessary to aim down
no,
sights.
It's not. You're just like,
because it's just like those.
You're like the guys in Predator. Like Predator, when they got their miniguns and they're just like shooting the forest to try to hit the predator.
Or like MacGruber, and he's like,
exactly.
So, but this game was really, really fun. Like I said, the gameplay was king. This is one of the best third person shooters out there. The story kind of was pretty, because it was so vague and you had to use your interpretation, and everyone's interpretation is different. I don't care for that. Just tell me a good story. Enough. Tell me a story. Why is she on this planet, kind of thing. So with that, I give this an 8 out of 10.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Very good. On my end, I found this to be such a fun roguelite-avania is what I'm going to call it, because it is a roguelite, but it's also a Metroidvania. And it just had the best of both worlds. There is a kill, die, progress loop that really takes you down hard, but invites you back for more. With the little by little progress, with some of the what are they called, abilities that you get. Not the artifacts, but like the thing you get from the aliens. That's getting into spoilers, but no, like the permanent upgrades. So. With the permanent upgrades, you get to be able to navigate the level better, to the active, like risk it for the biscuit mentality you have to have in order to get really powerful. After 30 hours, and despite as you said, Patrick, a vague and obtuse story, I am still hooked after just completing a full run and rolling the credits of the normal story last night, or yesterday. It wasn't last night, it was yesterday morning. This game was great. I probably wanted to give it, until maybe a day or two ago, I wanted to give it like an 8.5 out of 10. I was like, this is pretty cool. But now that like I've beaten it and I have everything I need to play through all the biomes all over again, and to dig deeper into the story and to get more trophies and more collectibles and stuff, it's a 9.5 out of 10 for me. Like it does. There are still things that I've been discovering after 30 hours, and I'm like, oh, I didn't get that. And now I get it, and I love it even more. So this game is I think by the end, maybe by the time I get the platinum, this will be a top 10 game for me. If not, it'll be for sure it's for sure a top 20 game of all the games. So when we revisit our top 100 games again, you better bet I'm taking out something and putting Returnal in its place. So there you go. That's my review of it. In terms of his rogueliteness, it's 10 out of 10. Hair-pulling cries of frustration when you lose your adrenaline at the beginning of a containment room. That's how good this roguelite factor is. I love those kind of games. So
this game
Housemarque is so good.
They make some great games, but this game was not easy. Not at all easy. It was. You had to be patient.
It definitely had a wall to it. Yeah. You had to be patient. you had to experiment, and let's go ahead and get into spoilers, get into, like you said, gameplay was king. So we're going to hold off on talking about story beats. I just want to talk about gameplay. Like the roguelike experience, like you said, it was hard at first. And if you did not experiment, if you did not try different things, it would be very easy to hit a wall. If you did not take risks. You had to take risks in this game. Like there are different systems going on. And what do you think of the different systems? You got layers of you got guns, you got parasites, you got artifacts, you got suit mods, you got malfunctions, you have, resin, you got all these things that play into your health, into the damage, these perks and different things. What were some of your favorite aspects of that in this game?
To be honest, when I first started, I was overwhelmed by how many different systems there were.
I can see that.
I started off, I'm like, I would go to the chests or pick up things that would give me malfunctions. And these malfunctions could be negative. They could be positive, depending on what kind of thing you're doing, whether that's a parasite or something that's malignant. So I tried to stay. I did a few at the beginning. I was like, oh, I don't like this. And then I could only get so far in the game. And then after he was like, you know what? I know this is a roguelike game. I'm going to have to figure all this out. So anytime I got something that was like, the malignancy is high, the probability is high, I'm like, I don't care. I'm going to get all the malignant stuff and I'm going to learn, because it was a great way to learn how the systems worked, what kinds of malignants or what kind of malfunctions you would get. But there was also cool things like you would get pickups where you could just use it and it would get rid of all your malignant, all your malfunctions, which was great to have. Especially
you can hold on to them and stock up and then just unload them. Yeah,
because you could get really good stuff, but it would be like, hey, you're going to get a malfunction. So I would just get a whole bunch if if I got that item where I could remove all the malfunctions, then I would do that. But I just did a whole bunch of those and learned all the systems. And then I'm like, okay, now this makes more sense. I'm getting more permanent upgrades kind of thing, which once I got farther and farther, there was a point where I'm like, I don't need to do this stuff anymore. I'm going to pick up all the parasites that give me positive effects rather than negative. And some of them are a double-edged sword. Like, oh, you can get more health, but your melee damage is at 50%. And I'm like, I never do melee anyway, so this is awesome for me,
Yeah, exactly.
So it was a lot of systems just in there, a lot of strategy in there to make sure all right, I this isn't that bad, or man, it was rough. If you get something where it takes away all your health back to normal, that's might as well just die and start over.
Because if you're in a higher biome, one hit will kill you. Some of them alien samurais that teleport everywhere, they will smack you, and then they'll smack you while you're down on the ground and destroy you.
Yeah, so, and the other system was not dying. So you try to improve your proficiency of the gun, and also that multiplier up to 5.
You mean
whatever.
Not getting hit?
Yeah, not getting hit. What did I say?
Yeah, you said not dying.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Same thing almost.
Yeah, the adrenaline. Yeah, the adrenaline feature.
Yeah, once you are able to beat enough enemies and get your adrenaline up to 5, that's when your gun is outrageous. No matter what gun you have, it's homing missiles and things like that. You could just shoot
it's like room. sticking your thumb in a hose and just spraying everywhere. You're like,
but it's homing water.
Yeah, homing water. Zooms in on your goes right up their nose.
Yeah, so
and,
that
drowns them.
And so you really don't want to get hit. And if you get hit, it brings down your adrenaline back down to 0, and you lose all that gun. So it was very patient in that.
Yeah, my favorite thing to do was to save up one of them automatic 5 adrenaline. And this, I'm in a room and I'm fighting, and they knock me down. I'm like, oh, I got something for you. Click it, and then go right back up to 5 and just mow them all down. Great.
I kind of saved that for bosses.
Yeah, usually I did. It depends if there's a boss or a containment room, because there's sometimes you had to do a containment room. So I saved all my good stuff for those containment rooms. So yeah, I really felt like it didn't overwhelm me at the beginning, just because I'm a roguelike, I'm I'm a roguelike professional, as it were.
Yeah.
I play all the roguelikes and roguelikes, and they have a lot of these layers upon layers of of systems like this. So I got it, but it's still like it felt like it's peeling an onion as I went on. And one of the cool things that I discovered was, using your parasites with your with your malfunctions, with your guns, with everything, how it layered together. I didn't realize how layered it can get. Like at one point I discovered the feature where I think it was a suit mod, if I remember right, or an artifact where if you got a malfunction or you got rid of a malfunction, it would give you a random ability. And that was one of my favorites because inevitably I would have like 4 or 5 abilities active at all times on my one side of the screen, like a shield, explosive hits, counterattack hits, just all kinds of stuff. And it would just add it.
The worst parasite was
yeah.
if you get the one where it's like every time you hit an enemy, they counter. If you
Yes.
have that one, you need to get rid of that or you're going to die. And
Not
just,
a fan.
Just start over.
Yeah, but when you have it, it's awesome. Like
it is.
Because if you have a shield, you don't get hurt. You lose, one layer. And I would get stacks of like 4 or 5 or 6 shields because I would have it based on the malfunction. I would have it based on my resin. With the way you build your health is if you are at full health, you pick up these green little rocks called resin, and with every 3 or 2 you get, depending on your suit mod, you get more life. And so I would go into a room in a battle and there would be like 3 or 4, and I would just avoid the enemies and pick up all 3 or 4 and have like 4 or 5 shields. So then I could just take them out and not worry about getting hit or getting my life taken away. So what a system. Let's talk about the guns for a sec. I know that you leaned a certain way, and as is tradition, I leaned another way. My favorite gun was the Hollow Seeker. I loved the homing aspect of it. I love the multi-layered types of bullets it had. It usually had like a little bit of like a DPS where you could hit them with stuff and it would I think it's called like shredder, a shredder feature. Like most guns have like 3 or 4. When you get higher up, it has 3 or 4, sometimes 5 layers of different artillery. And that Hollow Seeker would get to the point where it would have like a portal gun, would shoot a laser. It would have a turret gun that would pop out and shoot enemies for you. That was my favorite gun to work with. The one in close second was the, let me look up the name here real quick. It is the Electro Pylon Driver. I don't know how much you use this one, but man, that gun it reminded me of Horizon Zero Dawn, where you would lay down the electric traps and you would just lay them everywhere. And there would be like this web of electricity, and it would just, all you had to do was dodge the enemy and it would melt them all. You didn't have to aim. You didn't have to do anything. You could just fire at it blindly and it would chain across the electricity, across walls, across the ground. Those are my 2 favorite guns. How about you?
So my favorite gun was the Tachyomatic Carbine.
Oh,
that was just the machine gun, kind of thing. I liked that sound. It felt like, because I'm a big first person shooter, I love those kinds of guns. So that was my favorite gun. Second favorite was the Hollow Seeker. I liked the Hollow Seeker, but it wasn't my favorite because you get like 500 bullets per clip or whatever.
Right.
So it felt like you were really wrecking them. But unless your adrenaline was high on that one, it was kind of hard to feel like I was doing a lot of damage on those.
It was overtime damage. You're right.
Yeah, it was overtime damage for sure. So that one, if there was if I had to pick, I would pick the carbine, but I would always pick up anything other than the stupid pistol that they give you at the beginning.
Oh, this is the worst. The worst would be when you get to the boss, right before you get to the boss, and they always give you a gun, and then it's a pistol. I'm like, are you serious? You're going to give me a pistol to go against this boss? That's rude.
I know. I think I think it's something. It's called something like a standard issue handgun. There's like,
it's like boring.
It's
name.
Not even exciting.
Here's a bowl of vanilla ice cream. We have chocolate. We have coffee ice cream. We have all these flavors, but we're just going to give you vanilla.
I know. Yeah. So
no, thank you.
But really, so those are my favorites throughout the game. And then once you get to higher levels, the Electro Pylon Driver, that gun at early stages and early levels, not really effective.
No, not a whole lot.
Once you get to the higher levels and you get more of those kind of like perks within your gun, like you can wreck shop. Just
Yeah.
throw them on the walls and then just like let it do its
Yeah.
business. And you don't
Like you
have
just
to.
the great thing was when you'd shoot enemies, you get like 5, 6 enemies coming at you, and you shoot the enemy all the way on the left side and then the enemy all the way on the right side, and it would web across all of them, and you just see their life go bzzz,
Oh
and then
yeah.
they all
So
explode. It was so
and
cool.
so awesome. So awesome to use. I don't know if I used it in any of the bosses, but what during like the run through of the biome, it was lights out. Like
Yeah,
could
man.
just sit it and then just run away,
Yeah.
just run
Crowd
around,
control. Yep.
let the pylon do its work.
Yeah.
So that was it was an OP gun that I was like, when I was playing, I was using the carbine, I was using the hollow seeker. I was like, these are my guns. I'm not, gonna try out any of these other guns. And
Yeah.
then I was like, you know what? Screw this. This one's gonna be 10 levels higher than the gun that I already have, and the
Yeah.
damage
You
is
got to do
huge.
it.
Let me just try it. I'm just gonna try it. And then I was like, wow, I'm not going back to anything else.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say with the carbine, I really liked the leech rounds when I was struggling to keep my life up. Those leech rounds saved me a few times where it would give you life based on hits. It wasn't every hit you made, but it was, every 10 hits or, and you couple the leech rounds with the whatever feature, it like amped up the fire rate where if you held it down, it was like, like it
Yeah.
just like it would hit them faster and faster.
Mm-hmm.
I really appreciated that for sure. I did not like the Globber shotgun. I don't even the Globber. It's not the Lobber. It's like the Spitmaw shotgun that
Yeah.
has no range whatsoever. I did not.
No.
That's the one that I think I've picked it up once,
Yeah, I
and then
wasn't big on the other
mostly
guns,
abandoned
like the
it.
grenade launcher. I mean, does a ton of damage, but if you miss, sorry about your luck.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny you mentioned the melee. I've felt the exact same way for most of the game. Like where I was just like, I don't really like to get close. I like to keep medium to far away distance,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then not get up and personal. But the staggerability of the melee, coupled with one of my runs, I got this dash feature. I think when you picked up a spaceship artifact, and it would give you a dash where it would damage them, and you would like dash through them, and it would stun them. And then if you followed that with melee, it killed pretty much everybody 1 or 2 shots.
oh
So
wow, nice.
that was a fun one to do. I did that for one run just to
Mhm.
try it out. Now, one thing that's very interesting about this game, and I did not know about, I doubt you did either, because you usually are good about going in blind with these kind of games, is that, through the course of the game, you build up your life, you build up your power. And at some point in Biome 3, I don't know about you, I'd say after a half a dozen runs, I had made it through to the end of Biome 3, and I was like so OP. I had at least 4 ways to be resurrected. I had a bunch of leech powers. I had all kinds of stuff that was like I was pretty much indestructible. And I got to the final boss, and they barely touched me, and I just destroyed. You're leaping across platforms, you're hitting them from far away, and you defeat the enemy, you defeat the boss, and then as the story goes, just to give a quick peek into the story, they pick you up and rescue you from the planet. And I'm like, wow, they're already rescuing me in Biome 3. That's weird. And then you grow old. They do a cutscene where you grow old, and then you return back to the original planet from Biome 1, except it's greener and you have nothing. And I'm like, I lost all my stuff. Are you kidding me? I was so ticked. It was like making me start over, but I was at least further in the game. How did you feel when you like started over, but it was all different? What was
I
your reaction to
knew
that?
I knew going in that there were more than 3 biomes,
Right.
and I also didn't care about the story. So I was like, "Oh, all this doesn't never even happen. Oh, great. Okay, so let me just move on. I want to play the game. I don't care about the story." Like
Yeah.
yeah, she was like laying in her bed, looking out the window, and just seeing like, "Oh, I've had a good life, whatever." And then all
Yeah.
of a sudden,
Playing the
back in the
piano.
yeah, well, yeah. So I don't care for the story. Story was absolute garbage. It's absolute
Ouch.
trash. It sucks because I feel like if there was a more direct story and it wasn't just, it feels like there's a lot of it was missing, and again, a
Yeah.
lot of it was interpretation. If an end of a game is left up to interpretation, fine. But if the whole game is left up to interpretation, it's
Yeah.
kind of annoying.
Yeah. I think we'll get into this a little more just in a few when we talk about a little more about the story. But I
No,
think
we
that,
shouldn't.
huh?
No.
Well, I'm going to say a few things. Thank you very much, because
All right. All right.
I appreciated the story, even though I also understand exactly why you feel and recognize that it is very obtuse and very in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, biomes 4 through 6, this is where, for me, I hit a wall. To this point, biomes 1 through 3, other than when I played with you and played with Chris, I didn't really feel like it was that hard. Like, I felt like it was fair. I felt like each time I made good progress. And then I got to biomes 4 through 6, and 4 wasn't too bad. I got to biome 5, where it used to be a desert level and it turns into a snow level. And then you have to start journeying around through these rooms to get 3 keys. And each time, like at the beginning, the first time I went into the first room and I automatically got attacked by one of them sword aliens that zip around. And he chased me to the general area where usually you're supposed to be, quote unquote, safe. And he destroyed me. Like, he killed me. One hit. It felt like one hit. And I had like 2 resurrections and I used both of them and I couldn't beat him. I was like, okay, biome 5 is going to be a challenge. I go back and I'm able to fight through and get 1 key. The third time I get in, I'm able to get 2 keys. Then I die. And then the fourth time, I'm like, so if it follows, I'm going to get the 3rd key and we're going to be good. I get the first key, I get the 2nd key, and I'm like, here we go. And I get in the containment area for the first time of biome 5. And they automatically start me with 2 of those sword samurai aliens. And they destroy me. And I'm like, I have to get through 3 like usually in those containment rooms, it's like 3, I think it's 3, not swarms, 3 waves, thank you. 3 waves of enemies. And I'm like, I got to do 3 waves of these stupid sword aliens. Forget this. And I was despairing for a little bit. How about you? How were biomes 4 through 6? I'm not going to talk about biome 6 because then that'll lead to the story. But in general, what was your experience like?
So biomes 1 through 3 were hard for me. I died maybe 40, 50 times.
Wow, really?
Yeah, in biomes 1 through 3. I think one of it was because I was just running in. I was doing all the malignants.
You're just like,
I was doing all that just because I wanted to test things out. So
yeah.
I didn't care about my stats.
Push the limit.
So there was one times where I wouldn't get past biome 1. And I did that like 10 straight times where I would just go in, run, did, and I was like, okay, now I understand it. So I went through biomes 1 through 3. It took me like 40 deaths or whatever. And like those, usually my good runs were a few hours. The ones where I was dying was probably like 10 minutes maybe. So It wasn't like it was a long time. Like when I was dying, I got to the first boss and I died. That's when I first, and then that was one death. The second time I got to the boss, on a real run, I defeated him. So it wasn't like it was hard. I made it hard for myself.
Right.
I would continue to build up my permanent upgrades and things like that. So once I got to biome 4, and I was like, oh, okay, if I die, I start at biome 4. I was like, perfect. I don't have to go through biome 1 or 3 again. But I went through biomes 4, 5, and 5. It took me to get to biome 6 twice. It took me 2 times to get there. And then the biome 6, the final boss, I defeated him on 1 try. So I think it's because of my persistence in the first 3 biomes really helped me in the third biome, in the second run of the last 3 biomes. One, because I found the astronaut. The astronaut is the item you need 100%. So
you got to have that backup plan.
I had that, and I had the reconstructor. And so when I say I got to the final boss, I died at the final boss, but I went back to the reconstructor. Went to the final boss again, and I had a parasite that increases my integrity when it's at low integrity. So if I got hit, I would it would get down to low health, and then I would just kind of like run around and dodge things, wait for my integrity to go back up, and then I'll get back fighting again. So I was able to do that, and then once it hurt me too much, then I died. And my astronaut brought me back to life, and then I was able to fight again. So I kind of had like 3 shots at the final boss, which was fantastic. Then once I beat him, like going through there, maybe it took, this was before there was a save state where I'm like, okay, I have to
Dude.
finish this.
Yeah.
I have to finish this. And so that's what it took me in the last three biomes. It wasn't very difficult for me. One, because the RNG for me for that run was absolutely fantastic. I got the parasite I needed, I got the astronaut, and I found the reconstructor, and I had enough resin to do all that stuff. So that was huge for me. My favorite biome by far was the underwater one.
Dude, it was so cool. And I too beat the underwater level by, I guess we'll call it biome 6. I totally thought there was going to be a biome 5 boss. So when I jumped in the water, once you get the keys and then you get the underwater breathing, I was like, here we go. Let's fight the boss. I jump down and it starts biome 6, and I'm like, wait, what? Yeah. Okay, let's go.
And at this point, I had my carbine, and I see all these like huge like matrix tentacle things coming at me, and so I had my homing missiles. So I would just shoot it in the air, and it would defeat them off in the distance.
Yeah, they were one pops. Like they were just one shot pops for those octopus dudes. I was like,
that felt kind of good. All right.
Yeah, I was a fan of that also. Even though, man, they would sneak up on me sometimes and rush me, and it's probably come off screen, and like I was like, oh, like,
you broke up a little bit. What did you say?
I said, this is one of the few times where I had like jump scares was with those tentacle guys. If they came from the side and I didn't hear them, and they would like, they charge you to hit you, and they would come at me from the side while I'm focusing on another. That was the only time I got a little jumpy. Mm-hmm. But biome 6, the final area, the final boss, I did it all in one go. Like once I had gotten through, the struggle of the 5th biome of the snow world, I in total through the whole game, I died 16 times to beat the game. And
pretty good.
Part of the reason is because I'm a lot slower and more meticulous in what I do. And I noticed that when we played together, like we would run around and you would go in guns blazing. You'd be like, there's this, that, and the other. And I'm like, okay, so where do I want to go next? And you're like, let's go in here. And like, I'm just like, all right.
The patience paid off for you. And that's really the way you should play this game. I like to go guns blazing and then have a plan later.
Right. And I think for me, I could get away with going slow because of the save state. Like that was helped me play the way I prefer to play. Yeah. If I had played it before when I couldn't do the save state, I probably would have by necessity been like, I don't have time to just trudge through this. I mean, I would usually go through every biome twice. Like I would go through, I would be like, I'm coming back for that later. And then by the time I get to the end, I'd be like, I don't remember what that stuff is. So I would go through it all again and pick up the stuff I needed to get. In my golden run, I had that parasite or that suit mod that gave you random abilities with every malfunction that you grabbed and got rid of. And I got like 3 or 4 different of those clean out your malfunctions items. Like I kept getting them over and over and over again. And so every time I'd enter a room, I was like so bulked up from abilities, like I would just clean them out. And when I got to the final boss, I had this level 30 Hollow Seeker that had everything. It had 5 different like extra stuff that it did. And it helped me actually beat the final boss, because when you get to the final boss, like you have to expose its weak points and then shoot those weak points. And I was only shooting like the blue things. And then I was just shooting in the area, and I'm like, I don't know where to shoot. And my portal laser came out and it shot right at red stuff. And I was like, oh, that's how we heard it. So it took me like a minute to get its health to start going down. And then from there, I rocked it. And, I of course was getting hit, but I was running around. I was using my items that I'd saved up for the boss. And wow, what a rush. What a great, the bosses in this game. I think my favorite boss is still the organ boss.
Oh,
that plays the organ. Yeah. The music, like every time I would be in, it's biome 4, not biome 3.
I'm pretty sure that organ player was playing something, some song. Like
it was definitely a song.
It was like a real like rock song.
Oh, really? And it was just playing organ style.
Yeah. I'm gonna look it up.
Every time I would replay biome 4, I wanted to fight him again just to get closer to that organ music. Like I would always venture right to the edge, see if there was any guns or anything I needed in that area, and then I would go back and use the teleporters, which that was a nice feature. I thought once you beat a boss, you never actually have to fight them again. You always have a way to teleport to the next area. So being able to go from biome 1 to biome 3 with only facing one boss is really nice, and then the same with 4 through 6. Really cool. So, did you find the song yet?
No,
Anything?
I don't know what it is. I feel like it was
Mm.
like an actual song. Oh, "Don't Fear the Reaper" by the Blue Oyster Cult. That's what it was.
Is that what it
Yeah,
is?
yeah, it is. Yeah,
Really?
yeah,
That is really cool. That is really cool.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, so that's pretty much all the biomes. But one thing that's kind of funny is you get to the end, and like you said, the ending, the standard quote unquote ending, is kind of like, what? What just happened?
Yeah.
And so we are going to get a little bit into the story, not a whole bunch, but it's such a crazy, somewhat nonsensical. One way they unveil the story throughout is in random rooms throughout different places, biomes. You'll run into your house and it'll go into first person mode. What did you think of these segments where you would be exploring the house almost, I would say, almost PT style? Like it gave me that PT vibe and actually like made me a little scared that stuff was going to jump out at all times. So, what did you think of the house segments?
I loved the different like the variety that it gave you. Like it throws you in first person. It gives you some sort of scary feeling to the
Oh
house.
yeah,
Like it definitely felt like that where you're like, what's around the next corner? What's gonna jump out at me? No, nothing ever did. It was just
no, it didn't.
an
Yeah,
astronaut just looking at you like, I'm like, get out of here, astronaut. I don't care who you are. So but it was cool. It was really cool. I like those kinds of games. So I really enjoyed getting into the house. Whenever I had a key to the house, I'm like, yes, I can go to the house. Let's go.
let's
So
do it.
I thought it was really cool just seeing where you came from, seeing picture frames, seeing like the toys you had and things like that. So I thought this was a really cool, like, small backstory to who she was, and like just finding little octopus animals, stuffed animals, and things like
Yeah.
that. So I thought it was really cool that they had. I wish I was able to go in there more.
How many
But
times did you go into the house? How many keys did you get?
I don't know. It feels like I went in there 6 times, maybe.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I feel like I went
Because
in
if you
there
did, there's
quite a
like
lot.
I want to say there's only 5 or 6. Did you ever get the car keys in your?
Yeah, maybe. No, I think I needed to. That no, I didn't get the car keys. Maybe I only did it 4 or 5 times then,
Yeah.
because I never got the car keys because I saw that there's a trophy to unlock the car or something like that at the end of the game,
Yes. So
and
that's the
so I
secret
did.
ending.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wasn't able to do that. No.
Yeah. So for me, I was creeped out by the house segments, but the house segments definitely intrigued me, and I feel like through it all, like I think I did 3, if not 4, house segments. I think I have one more before I can get the house keys, but also you have to from each biome you have to find a fragment. I think it's called a
Mm-hmm.
sun fragment or something like that. That you can only go after. You can only find those after you've beaten the game
Right.
once. And so from there, you have to do it all over again, get those sun fragments, visit the house enough to where you can get the car keys. And then at the final boss, you see your car right before the boss fight and you unlock the car. And then stuff apparently happens. I know a little bit about it, but I'm actually going to not look into it too much more because I kind of want to experience it and see what if it explains anything or if it gives any more information that it probably doesn't. Like you
I don't
said,
think
like
so.
the pretty much how the story goes in general, you have an astronaut who I feel like she flies off planet and finds and investigates this white shadow signal almost in response to what you find out at the end is the death of her daughter. I think Celine's daughter dies in a car accident where she almost hits an astronaut, which is apparently also Celine. And and so there's this whole thing that's happening where you're just it's I think most of it's in your head, like it's the aliens messing with you, kind of like in your final fight, not your final fight, the boss battle of biome 3, when you pass out and then you fight the alien on the platforms. I think most of everything else you're going through is kind of like that, like she's dealing with, I think the aliens are like feeding off of her grief. They're feeding whatever this being is, it's feeding off of her sorrow and her grief, and it's manifesting it in all these crazy tentacled aliens and trying to kill her and make her suffer over and over because she won't forgive herself for what she did is my personal guess based off of what
My
I
my
see.
guess is she's dead. and she's being held captive by aliens, and all of this is in her head. If that would be the case, I'm like, oh, okay, then we're gonna get a Returnal 2 sequel where she wakes up and she fights these aliens for real. It's like that would be cool, but no, this is none of this makes sense, and it's all a dream. It's like when you have a dream and none of it makes sense. You're like, I don't know why I was here. One minute I'm in Ohio, the next minute I'm in Australia. It's like that's what it feels like with this story. Like I can't follow it. So it was a lot of it was up to interpretation and just connecting dots that weren't even there, kind of thing.
Yeah,
I get it. Yeah, that's for me.
Yeah. For me, it's intrigued me enough, but I think for me, what has kept me going is once I rolled the credits, I realized I could explore every nook and cranny. So I've now rolled the credits. I rolled the credits yesterday, and then from then till now, I've gone through biome 1, 2, 3. I've been able to explore more areas because I can go underwater. I can walk through lava. I can do all the things I couldn't do when I was there before. And I'm finding new scout logs. I'm finding new items. I got to by the end of biome 3, I got to the max, which I think it's pretty easy in that segment, but I got to the max gunpowder, your proficiency rating, and I got 300% life. So I got the max life you could get by getting enough of the resin. But just another thing that really hit me that I did not get through most of the game is that when you use the guns, a lot of those sub artillery options you have, like with the Roman numeral 1 or Roman numeral 2, those are all unlocked by use. And so the more you use the guns, the more you have available, to the point where you'll have a level 3 like portal laser that will just wreck shop. You'll have a level 3 leech rounds that will take more life. And so once I realized I could level up all the guns, it got me excited about trying new things other than the Spitmaw shotgun. I still don't like it. One, because it only has, I think because I haven't used it very much, it only has like one feature that I can use. Everything else is locked and I have to use it in order to unlock it. But man, what a fun game. I definitely am going to keep playing. I did try out like the simulations for the trophy where you do like a little challenge. That was pretty fun, except you didn't have your abilities. So it was a little weird to not be able to walk through lava or do the, can't go underwater or anything again. So I only did that once to get a trophy and moved on. But I tip my hat to Housemarque in making a game that you finish and then you still want to keep playing. And so I'm going to keep playing. I'm going to get the platinum trophy in this game. Maybe not now, but eventually. I can't recommend this game enough. But I will say that you have to approach it like Patrick did. And you just have to try out all the stuff. You got to grab the malfunctions. You got to risk it for the biscuit. Because then you'll discover how really cool all the systems work together. And I can't recommend this game enough.
Yeah, I gave it an 8 out of 10. If the story was better, it would be a little bit higher for me.
Right.
But like I said, if you want to play a game with good gameplay mechanics, this is one of those games.
This is the game.
Yeah,
for sure. All right. Well, I think that's it for our second installment of the PS P Squared show. If you care to share any of your thoughts on the PS Plus catalog or Returnal itself, why don't we do some quick housekeeping where we offer towels, fluff pillows, topped with Andy's candies, and tip you off to the GMG news you need to know. On Twitter, Discord, Facebook, and Instagram, you can share what's new with you. If you'd rather connect visually, you can join us on YouTube, TikTok, or Twitch, where Marc's playing Battle Royales and Legend of Zelda. I'm playing roguelikes and randomness, and one of our Canadian joiners, Chris the Rock, is playing GMG VG BC games, our book club games, such as Mad Max and Injustice. And then finally, on Patreon and our merch page, you can support us and gear up. So click that one link to rule them all, either in the show notes, or you can type out linktree.com/thegmgpod. Of course, if you can't toss your attention or a coin to your podcasters, but are still the giving type, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, and Spotify. Or if you already have, grab your spouses, friends, grandmas, aunts' phone, device, and do it for them. And helps us reach new joiners through stars, exclamation marks, and feedback. If you'd like to give us voice feedback, leave a little message. You can literally call us at 929-GMG-GUYS. Alrighty then, Pat, along with you, our beloved friends, family, and joiners, go get your good morning this week, and may God bless and guide your lives as you live, as you work, and as you game.